Port Charles has witnessed countless scandals, betrayals, and heartaches, but what unfolded in the courtroom this week left even the most hardened residents speechless. The shocking emergence of a damning video showing Drew Cain slapping his daughter Scout has sent ripples through every corner of the town. The courtroom chaos, the judge's explosive reaction, and the devastating consequences that follow will reshape the lives of Drew, Sam, Scout, and everyone caught in the storm. Let's dive deep into this dramatic and emotional saga, filled with heartbreak, raw confessions, and the fallout that threatens to tear apart what's left of Drew's world. The day began with Drew Cain stepping into the Port Charles courthouse, wearing an uncharacteristic mask of confidence. Having weathered months of legal battles against Sam McCall over custody of Scout, Drew believed he finally had the upper hand. His legal team assured him that nothing Sam could produce would change the court's view of him as a strong, stable father figure. What Drew couldn't have known was that the foundation of his defense was built on quicksand, and that morning, the tide was about to come in. Sam, meanwhile, arrived looking tense but determined. She had been silent in recent days, refusing even to reveal her strategy to Alexis, her own mother. Many in the courtroom whispered about what trump card Sam might play, but no one could have guessed the truth. As the courtroom filled, the atmosphere was electric with speculation. Michael Corinthos and Willow, sitting quietly in the back row, exchanged worried glances. Carly Spencer, who had tried to mediate between Sam and Drew for Scout's sake, appeared deeply uneasy. Even Sonny Corinthos, rarely seen in a family court setting, watched with a guarded expression. The audience sensed something monumental was about to happen. The judge, known for her strict and fair reputation, entered the courtroom, and all eyes turned to Sam as her attorney rose. Sam, her face pale but resolved, stood beside him. "Your Honor," the attorney began, "we would like to introduce new evidence relevant to the question of Mr. Cain's fitness as a custodial parent." Drew's smirk faltered. His lawyer shot him a worried glance. Drew swallowed, suddenly aware that whatever was coming was serious. The courtroom projector flickered to life. Silence fell so complete it felt like the walls themselves were listening. The video began. Shot from inside Drew's own living room, by a nanny cam he had apparently forgotten, it showed Drew and Scout in what initially looked like an everyday argument. Scout's voice quivered. "Daddy, please, I didn't mean to." Drew, face twisted with rage, shouted, "Don't lie to me." Then came the moment that ripped the air from every chest in the courtroom. Drew raised his hand and slapped Scout across the face. The slap echoed through the video, louder than anything anyone had ever heard. Scout recoiled, bursting into tears. "Go to your room," Drew roared. "I don't want to see your face right now." The video ended abruptly. The silence that followed was heavier than any verdict. The judge's eyes flashed with a fury that made even Drew shrink back. Her gavel struck the bench like a thunderclap. "Mr. Cain," she thundered, "you stand before this court claiming to be a responsible, loving parent, yet this video reveals abuse, intimidation, and an utter failure of self-control." Drew tried to speak, but the judge cut him off. "You will be silent. This court will not tolerate excuses when the evidence speaks so clearly." Sam turned away, tears streaming down her face. She had seen the video before, but watching it again in public was a different kind of pain. Scout, sitting beside her mother, clung to Sam's arm, hiding her face from the courtroom. News spread through Port Charles with blinding speed. By that afternoon, it was all anyone could talk about. At the Metro Court, Carly tried to keep order as guests, reporters, and even some staff demanded answers. Carly defended Drew as someone who had always seemed like a good father, but privately, she replayed the slap over and over, haunted by the sound. At Kelly's, the regulars debated fiercely. Some insisted Drew must have been pushed to a breaking point. Others said there was never an excuse for hitting a child. Sonny, usually measured when family is involved, found himself gritting his teeth with rage. Though Drew wasn't his family, Sonny had known Scout since birth. The thought of anyone hurting her, let alone her father, ignited an old, protective instinct. After court adjourned, Drew retreated to the penthouse that had once been his fortress. The moment the door closed behind him, the weight of his actions came crashing down. He smashed a photo of himself with Scout, shards of glass scattering across the floor. His reflection, distorted by the broken glass, felt like a fitting punishment. Over and over, Drew whispered, "What have I done?" For the first time, Drew saw himself through Scout's terrified eyes, and he hated the man he saw. That night, Sam and Scout sat together in Scout's bedroom, the air thick with unspoken words. Scout finally whispered, "Will Daddy go to jail?" Sam wrapped her arms around her daughter, her voice breaking. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I promise you'll always be safe." Scout, tears spilling, confessed what she had never dared say aloud. "I thought he loved me, but he looked so angry, Mommy." Sam's heart broke all over again. "He does love you," she said softly, "but love doesn't mean someone gets to hurt you." It was a painful lesson Sam wished her daughter had never had to learn. The next morning, the judge reconvened. Her ruling was swift and devastating for Drew. In light of the evidence presented, the judge declared, Mr. Kane's visitation rights are hereby suspended indefinitely. Custody of Scout Kane shall remain solely with her mother, Samantha McCall, until further review by this court. Drew's face crumpled. His lawyer placed a hand on his shoulder, but it offered no comfort. Sam, though relieved for Scout's safety, felt no triumph. All she felt was exhaustion and sorrow that it had come to this. While many in Port Charles condemned Drew, a few still stood by him. Carly visited Drew, urging him to get help. "You need therapy, Drew. For Scout's sake and for your own." Ned Quartermain, despite family rifts, offered quiet support. "We all make mistakes, Drew," Ned said. "But you have to own yours if you want to fix this." Others, however, were far less forgiving. Jason Morgan, once Drew's twin and now estranged, refused to even speak to him. "A child should never fear their father," Jason told Sam when she called. Anna Devane, herself wrestling with her past as a parent, told Drew bluntly, "If you don't do the work to change, you'll lose Scout forever, and you'll deserve it." In the days that followed, Scout grew quieter. At school, she avoided questions from friends. At home, she sometimes flinched when Sam raised her voice, even gently. Sam arranged for Scout to see a therapist, hoping to help her daughter heal. One night, Scout asked the question Sam had dreaded most. "Will I ever see Daddy again?" Sam hesitated, then answered honestly, "I hope so, but only when it's safe." It was a promise Scout seemed to understand, but it didn't erase the sadness in her eyes. Haunted by guilt and desperation, Drew finally agreed to seek help. In therapy, the walls he had built around himself began to crack. He spoke, for the first time, about his own childhood, the anger he had buried, the fear of becoming the father who had once belittled him. "I saw my father in the mirror that day," Drew admitted to his therapist, tears streaming down his face. "I thought I'd escaped him, but maybe he never really left me." The therapist nodded gently. Acknowledging it is the first step. The next is to change so Scout never sees that man again. Unable to see Scout in person, Drew poured his heart into a letter. It was raw, honest, and filled with regret. "My sweet Scout, I did something unforgivable. I hurt you, not just your face, but your heart. I can't take it back, but I promise I will spend the rest of my life trying to become the father you deserve. I love you more than anything, and I am so, so sorry. Love always, Dad." Sam debated whether to show Scout the letter. Ultimately, she decided her daughter deserved the choice. Scout read it silently, then folded it and placed it in a drawer. "Maybe later," she whispered. As weeks passed, other dramas unfolded in Port Charles, but the video's impact lingered. It became a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. Even good people can do terrible things. Some believed Drew deserved forgiveness. Others thought he could never be trusted again. For Sam and Scout, healing became a daily process. Some days were better than others. Some nights, Scout still woke crying. But each morning, Sam reminded her, "You are safe. You are loved." Before adjourning the case indefinitely, the judge addressed Drew directly. "Mr. Kane, love is not measured by intention, but by action. A child is not a mirror for our pain, nor a vessel for our anger. If you wish to be a father again, your journey begins within." Those words, echoing through the courthouse, became part of the story Port Charles would never forget. Months later, Drew remained under court order to stay away from Scout. But reports quietly surfaced. Drew continued therapy, attended anger management classes, and volunteered at a local youth center, hoping to learn, to change, to atone. Scout, in her own way, began to heal too. She kept her father's letter hidden, but not discarded. In her heart, hope still lingered, a hope that one day, the man she loved could become the man she needed. The video of Drew slapping Scout shattered illusions, destroyed trust, and left scars that may never fully fade. Yet amid the devastation, seeds of redemption were planted. Whether Drew can truly change, and whether Scout can forgive him, remains uncertain. But in Port Charles, where love and pain so often walk hand in hand, even the darkest stories can find a sliver of light. Stay tuned to General Hospital, because this isn't the end of Drew and Scout's story. It's only the beginning of a long, painful, but perhaps hopeful road toward forgiveness and healing.